Stella stood gazing out of her luxury Manhattan apartment window, her eyes following the city's skyline as it bathed in the hues of dusk. At 37, Stella had built a respectable career as a research analyst on Wall Street. Nearby, an envelope sat prominently on her desk, an invitation to her upcoming wedding, a symbol of a new beginning with her fiancé. Yet, as Stella took in the view, her thoughts wandered to her previous marriage and the complex relationships it echoed, particularly with her sister, Ella. From their childhood, Stella and Ella's sibling bond was marred by rivalry and envy. Ella was the cherished one, always at the forefront of their parents' affections, whereas Stella was seen as the unplanned, though no less beloved, addition only 5 months Ella's junior. Their grandmother often remarked on this, framing Stella as a surprise blessing. Stella's reflections took her back to her younger years when favoritism was evident. In family portraits, Ella would be centered, flanked by their parents, while Stella found herself on the periphery. On family vacations, it was often just Ella who went along, leaving Stella behind with their grandparents. A particularly stinging memory was when, at 7, Stella overheard plans for a trip to Disneyland. Her heart soared at the thought, only to be crushed when her mother gently but firmly said, "Sorry, Stella. This time it's just Ella. You'll have your turn next." But her father was more direct. "Stay with your grandparents. Ella needs more attention right now." That next time never materialized, and Stella was left to nurse her wounds alone, her only solace being the warm embrace of her grandparents' home. Her grandparents, filled her world with love and validation. Grandfather, a lover of science and mathematics, introduced Stella to a world where she felt valued and seen. They spent many nights stargazing through an old telescope that had been in the family for generations. "Knowledge is power," grandfather would say, "a treasure that can't be taken from you." Those moments became Stella's sanctuary, far from the harshness of being unseen by her own parents and the cruelty of schoolmates who found her odd and isolatable. High school brought its challenges as the sisters' paths diverged sharply. Stella excelled academically, finding refuge in her studies, while Ella thrived socially. Despite her achievements, Stella's classmates often dismissed her efforts with sighs and rolling eyes, reinforcing her solitude. Ella, though popular, rarely stood up for her sister, and at times even partook in mocking her, deepening the chasm between them. Now, standing in her apartment, Stella looked at the wedding invitation again. It wasn't just a celebration, but a marker of how far she had come. The conflicts of her past lingered, but they had also carved a path of resilience and self-discovery. As the city lights flickered on, Stella felt a mix of anticipation and nostalgia, a reminder of the infinite possibilities that lay ahead and the enduring scars that shaped her. One morning, during a chemistry lab at school, Stella stumbled upon a discovery that seemed to defy the established scientific theories. Filled with excitement, she hurried to share the results with her teacher, who was thoroughly impressed and praised her for her sharp intellect. However, her elation didn't last long. Later that day, her sister Ella approached her disdainfully in the school hallway. "Trying to grab attention with those bizarre experiments again? I'm going to tell Mom and Dad," she taunted. Stella was left dumbfounded. She couldn't understand why Ella always sought to undermine her achievements. That evening, the situation worsened when their parents reprimanded Stella, misunderstanding her intentions. "You shouldn't trouble your teachers with these unnecessary demonstrations," her father chided sternly. "Just sit quietly in class," her mother added. Crushed, Stella retreated to her room, tears streaming down her face. She wondered why her natural talent was viewed almost like a transgression. Resolved to not let her spirit be crushed, Stella began seeking an environment that would appreciate her capabilities. She formed a circle with some girls from her art class who shared her passion for learning and innovation. For the first time, Stella felt a genuine connection and acceptance. They would meet at a local cafe after school, engaging in lively discussions about art, science, and philosophy, where Stella shone brightly with her insights. Her friend Mia, amazed by Stella's depth, once remarked, "You're really fascinating, Stella. It's a shame we didn't meet earlier." For a brief moment, Stella felt she had found her tribe. However, this new happiness was soon challenged. Ella, feeling excluded and possibly jealous, tried to insert herself into the group. One afternoon, she approached them with a seemingly sweet request. "Hey, can I join too?" But Mia, aware of the past tensions, gently refused, causing Ella to react with unmasked fury. That night, Ella played the victim, telling their parents that Stella was excluding her cruelly. Their mother sided with Ella, urging Stella to be more understanding towards her sister. The internal conflict and lack of familial support left Stella heartbroken, yet it also instilled in her a resolve to prove her worth independently. She threw herself even more into her studies, targeting success in a field as competitive as Wall Street, seeing it as a way to affirm herself. By her senior year, Stella's efforts bore fruit. She won a national mathematics competition, gaining recognition in her school and even making the local newspaper. However, the spotlight brought new challenges. Ella, envious and fearful of losing their parents' attention, fabricated a story about Stella having a secret boyfriend and being involved in drugs. Confronted by her father, who was shaken and angry, Stella's explanations fell on deaf ears. Even as Stella faced accusations based solely on Ella's words, their parents remained biased towards her sister. One heated argument led to Ella pushing Stella, causing her to hit her head and bleed, a stark, painful symbol of her family's betrayal. Though they rushed her to the hospital, her parents continued to defend Ella, calling it an accident. Sitting alone in the hospital, nursing both emotional and physical wounds, Stella felt the weight of her family's disbelief and favoritism. As a nurse approached, asking if she was okay, Stella realized the profound journey she had ahead to build a life where her talents were not just recognized, but celebrated. Away from the shadows of doubt cast by her own family. Stella's voice trembled slightly as she spoke, her warmth breaking through her usual reserve. Up until now, she had kept her family's struggles a secret, never sharing the burden with anyone. But the weight had grown too heavy, and in a moment of vulnerability, she confided in the nurse, who listened with compassionate attention, nodding along as Stella poured out her heart. When the truth was finally out, the nurse expressed concern for Stella's safety and suggested calling Child Protective Services, CPS. Stella hesitated, aware of the potential upheaval it would cause, but ultimately agreed, hoping it might bring some much-needed change. The fallout was immediate and intense. Her parents were outraged by her decision. In the sterile echoes of the hospital corridors, her mother accused her of betrayal, and her father disowned her, branding her a disgrace. Stella stood amidst the chaos, tears streaming down her cheeks, her heart shattering yet feeling an unfamiliar sense of freedom. This painful liberation led Stella to her grandparents' home, where she was greeted with genuine affection and care. Living with them, she experienced the comforting routines of family life breakfasts made by her grandmother and nighttime philosophical talks with her grandfather under the stars. Her grandfather often reminded her, "Life isn't easy, Stella, but you grow stronger with every challenge you overcome. Remember, your potential is limitless." After high school, Stella earned a full scholarship to Columbia University, stepping onto the campus with a mix of excitement and resolve to forge a new path where she was known not as Ella's sister, but simply as Stella. University life brought recognition and respect. She excelled academically, especially in economics, impressing her professor theology with her keen intellect and unique perspective. One day, a renowned professor theology praised her exceptional coursework and suggested she consider a career on Wall Street. Stella's ambitions ignited. This was her chance to truly make a mark. Yet, memories of her family occasionally haunted her, the pain lingering like a tight knot in her chest, only softened by rare, cursory contacts and the bittersweet memories evoked by old family photos. During her sophomore year, Stella met Daniel, a law student whose understanding and introverted nature matched her own. Their connection deepened into a supportive relationship, and Daniel's affirmation of her worth helped Stella see herself in a new light. One evening, contemplating her tumultuous family relationships, she confided in Daniel about forgiveness. He wisely suggested that forgiveness might not only be for those who wronged her, but also a way for her to lift the burden from her own heart. After college, Stella joined a prominent investment bank on Wall Street. Her analytical prowess and strategic insights quickly propelled her up the ranks. By her mid-47s, she was a respected figure in the finance industry. When a major project landed on her desk, one that could define her career. She dedicated herself entirely, preparing meticulously. On the day of the presentation, despite the high stakes and her nerves, Stella presented her innovative strategies confidently to a room full of executives, her proposals as sharp as they were groundbreaking. After finishing her presentation, a hush fell over the room until the CEO rose to applaud. The rest of the executives soon joined in, clapping enthusiastically. "Great job, Mizukata," the CEO exclaimed, his smile wide and encouraging. "Thanks to you, our company is set to advance significantly." At those words, Stella felt a profound sense of acknowledgement for her efforts. Tears of joy and relief filled her eyes as she realized that her hard work was finally paying off. Meanwhile, Daniel, her longtime partner, had carved out a successful career as a lawyer. Despite their demanding schedules, they nurtured their relationship, their deep connection thriving over 8 years. Then came a pivotal moment. Daniel proposed in front of Stella's favorite painting at the museum. "Stella, I want to share my life with you," he said, his voice shaking with emotion. "Will you marry me?" Overcome, Stella nodded her agreement through her tears, saying, "Yes, gladly." That evening, as they began to imagine their future together, the topic of their wedding guest list arose. Stella decided to call her grandparents to announce her engagement. Their joyful responses warmed her heart. "Your happiness means everything, Stella," her grandmother said soothingly. Yet, the thought of contacting her parents and her sister Ella was daunting, burdened by years of estrangement. Stella attempted to call several times but hesitated, the weight of past conflicts heavy on her heart. Ultimately, she opted for a simple text. "Dad, Mom, and Ella, I am engaged to a man named Daniel. Our wedding is on the 13th next month. You are welcome to attend if you'd like." After sending it, she was consumed by anxiety, struggling to focus at work and losing sleep. Daniel was a rock during this turbulent time, reassuring her, "It's okay, Stella. Whatever their response, I'm here with you." Her parents' tepid reaction and her sister's hurtful words only intensified Stella's emotional turmoil. Despite this, Daniel encouraged her to make a decision without regrets, reminding her that their wedding day could also be an opportunity for reconciliation. After much reflection, Stella decided to extend an invitation to her family, though they would not play a central role in the ceremony. "Dad, I've asked Grandpa to walk me down the aisle," she told her father, who reacted with anger, accusing her of selfishness. Stella stood her ground, asserting, "You raised me, but it was my grandparents who loved me. On the most important day of my life, I want someone by my side who truly supports me." His harsh words stung, but they also freed her from lingering expectations. As the wedding preparations moved forward, Stella busied herself with selections of dresses and floral arrangements, momentarily putting aside her familiar worries. However, a week before the wedding, her father called with unexpected news he wouldn't be attending. Stella's heart sank at the message, yet this too was a step toward embracing her new life with Daniel, supported by those who genuinely cherished her. Stella received a call that turned her world upside down. Her sister Ella had been promoted to vice president of a major company, and they were throwing a celebration on the very day of Stella's wedding. As she listened, old wounds reopened her entire life. Ella had been the golden child, often leaving Stella feeling overlooked and unimportant. Now, even her wedding day was overshadowed by her sister's success. Coolly, Stella congratulated her sister and ended the call. Overwhelmed by emotions, she broke down, but her fiancé, Daniel, was right there, offering comfort with his presence and soothing words. Despite his support, Stella spent a sleepless night gazing out at the lights of Manhattan, reflecting on her painful past, the missed family trips, the overlooked achievements, the unfair punishments, and the harsh moment when she was forced out of her home. By dawn, something within Stella shifted. She realized she didn't need her family's approval to feel validated. She had Daniel, supportive friends, and loving grandparents. With newfound resolve, she decided to proceed with her wedding, regardless of her family's absence. On her wedding day, Stella walked down the aisle on the arm of her grandfather. She was radiant in a simple white dress, adorned with delicate flowers in her hair. The venue was filled with close friends and the comforting presence of Daniel's parents, who accepted her as their own. Yet, The absence of her own parents and Ella was a lingering sorrow. During the reception, amidst the joy and dancing, Ella appeared, her glamorous dress contrasting her weary demeanor. She had left her own celebration early, feeling the pull to be part of her sister's special day. Confronted with mixed feelings of anger and hope, Stella faced Ella. Her sister's shaky voice apologized, revealing regrets and a desire for reconciliation. As Stella listened, she realized this moment could be a new beginning. A chance to build a future with those who truly valued her. And maybe, just maybe, a chance to mend fences with Ella as well. Ella confessed to Stella, admitting her long-held jealousy over Stella's resilience, intellect, and the affection she garnered. As she spoke, Stella absorbed her sister's words in silence. Ella expressed her desire to mend their strained relationship, hoping for Stella's forgiveness and a fresh start. Taking a moment, Stella's mind raced with conflicting emotions. "Forgiving you won't be easy," Stella replied softly, "but I appreciate you reaching out. Maybe, step by step, we can rebuild what we had." Ella's eyes welled up as she extended her hand tentatively. Stella, after a brief pause, accepted it. Together, they stood, sharing a quiet moment, gazing at the twinkling Manhattan skyline, a symbol of new beginnings. 3 months later, Stella received a heartfelt apology from her parents in the mail, lamenting their absence at her wedding and expressing a wish to reconcile. Mixed emotions swirled within her, torn between forgiveness and maintaining distance. She held off on responding, seeking advice from her husband, Daniel. With a reassuring smile, he suggested, "There's no rush. Wait until you're ready." Stella agreed, realizing the importance of pacing herself as she navigated her feelings. In this new chapter of her life, Stella was learning to manage her emotions and was considering therapy to address past wounds and foster healthier relationships. Surrounded by a supportive husband, caring friends, and loving grandparents, she reminded herself that she was not alone. Despite the inevitable challenges ahead, Stella felt empowered by her newfound strength and the love of her real family ties, not defined by blood, but forged through understanding and support. Looking out at the bright lights of the city, Stella felt a sense of peace. Daniel's arms wrapped around her, bringing comfort as they discussed their future and the possibility of reconciling with their past. "Let's face it together," Daniel murmured. Encouraged by his support and the life they were building, Stella was ready to step forward, embracing both the challenges and the opportunities that lay ahead in this new beginning of her life.